It is preparing.
And I'm watching myself on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. All right.
I gotta turn my volume up on there.
All right. So we are going.
And I'm watching myself on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. All right. So. All right.
I gotta turn my volume up on there.
All right. So we are going.
And I'm watching myself on YouTube.
Is your sound going on both sides? All right. So. All right.
I gotta turn my volume up on there.
All right. Sound going on both sides? All right. So. Sick. Okay. I'm not a tech guru, gang, so thank you for bearing with me. All right. So Jaden and I are going to be doing the morning show today, and we're going to be working on the message that Sean gave us last night. And man, it was so nice to just see Sean again. You know, if you guys are newer to Pulse, Sean was our youth pastor before Khalil jumped in, started doing such a great job. And it's nice to have him drop back in once in a while and just kind of throw us the message. So, yeah, sorry about that mess in the beginning. I am new to this, and we're gonna keep on going. So, Jaden, did you have? Okay, first of all, I know if you guys don't know Jaden, he did some of our tech work, and he's always just been around Pulse and being really fun and helpful. And I also know he's got some cool hobbies. So, do you have anything interesting around you right now, Jaden Brockman?
Well, I have a potato in my hand.
Okay, awesome.
I also have a 3D printer right here.
Oh, sweet.
Let's see.
Nice, dude. What do you
It's not working right now. I got to fix it for some reason, but I printed this.
Cool.
It's threaded. It just holds off all my airsoft BBs.
Sweet. Dude, that's really cool. So yeah, Jaden is a cool dude, and he knows how to do tech way better than me, as you already know. I am in Khalil's old office, his upstairs one. I love this room, dude. It's so nice. But I have a piano, and I have all of his really cool stuff from like his travels and stuff and mission trips. So the walls are all covered with stuff from like different countries. But I think it's really sweet.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. So, Jaden, our message that Sean threw to us last night, we caught that and took things away from it. So what did you take away?
I took away how to recognize counterfeit truth.
Yeah? What's that?
I took first of all, you gotta listen to Jesus. You gotta study, you gotta pray, you gotta read the Bible, and you gotta ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Right on. What do those mean to you? How do you do those?
When I ask questions, I usually pray about them. When I'm confused or when I'm just having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I pray. I mean, sometimes I read the Bible when things are just tough or when I'm just doing nothing.
Yeah. Awesome. What do you go to if you're doing nothing or if you have a question? Like what's your go-to stuff?
John 3:16. That's my go-to.
Yeah.
For now.
Right on. So, I mean, I think all of us really want to know like what's true. I don't want to be living life out of like false information, you know. And I think a lot of us want to figure that out, you know, whether we're Christians or not. So when Jesus said like he is true, that's so cool to me because it means that we can like trust everything that he says, everything he does, you know, is things that we should do also. What did you think about that? Like that Jesus is truth, not like Jesus does truth or Jesus knows truth, but like he is it. Does that mean anything?
When Pastor Sean said, "Truth is not an opinion; it's a person, and his name is Jesus."
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Sweet. So, have you seen anything different? You know, being someone who believes in Jesus. I mean, now that you know His truth, has there been any truths that like you've seen in your life that you didn't see before?
Not necessarily,
Mhm.
or none that I can notice or that I can remember right now.
Yeah, no, that's
But
fair. All right. Well, one sec. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and it's like, how do we get to know truth? And you can go into that a little bit, but like, how do you tell truth when it's not true as a Christian? So,
hmm, that's a harder question.
Jonathan says he was gonna hop on.
that's a harder question.
Yeah.
Well, how about we I can rephrase it for you. If Jesus is truth, how do we learn what's true as a Christian?
By following his path that he has made for us, not our own path.
Yeah. Yeah. How do we do that though? Like, how do I find where's Jesus's path at? How can I find that? How can I learn about that?
Uh, I found it by just going to church and reading the Bible and studying his word that he actually said, "Follow me through some of these hard times, but we'll still get through it together
Mm-hmm.
at the end."
So, what do you think are some things that we were getting wrong before we knew, like, the truth that Jesus showed us? Because before we know Jesus, we're doing things. You know, we're not just sitting around. We're doing a lot of things. Um, what are some things that you think a lot of people could be doing that aren't true or aren't out of truth if they don't know Jesus' story?
Can you say that last part again?
Yeah. So, like, what do you think some things? What do you think some things are that people do who don't know Jesus' story, or like, how do people who don't know Jesus confuse what's not true for what is true?
I think lying is a big part of it. I know everyone lies, and it's hard to not lie all the time. Not lie. It's hard to just be positive, literally all day, every day especially during quarantine,
Yeah. No, it's tough.
sitting alone doing nothing.
Yeah. So, is that a struggle? I mean, we're all kind of dealing with that right now. What's a truth? I can talk about this, too, but what's the truth that we know as followers of Jesus that could help us in that scenario?
Uh, if we just keep following Jesus, everything will be okay, pretty much. And if we just keep watching the pulse, we'll be okay.
I think that's fair. Jesus, he's always with us for sure. That doesn't necessarily mean everything will be okay and everything will, feel good and be better, because we're not promised the easier life after we're saved. We're promised a new a new spirit, and that the Holy Spirit will be with us and in us. So for me, that's a truth that I have. I know that I'm a new creation after I'm saved, and that because Jesus is always with me, He's never gonna. You guys know this. He's never gonna leave me or forsake me. And so when maybe our friendships are strained, or people are quieter, or we're feeling, lonely or something, I can say, okay, people in my life might be acting differently right now, but a truth I know is that my God will never leave me and He'll never forsake me, you know. So you always have something with you. Yeah. Now, did you have any other takeaways about Sean's message? Was there anything that you even noticed or want to talk about?
One of the main points was we will all be together in the end.
Yeah. What does that mean?
That no matter what it's like right now, like later we'll all be together. We'll all have no sins. We'll all be having a great time up in heaven with each other.
That's a good truth. Because it switches our perspective, right? It's like, if I'm worried about what's happening here, how I feel here, it's important. I mean, your life's very important, what you do. But Christians can have the perspective that we have a eternal home looking ahead for us. So one of the really cool things about learning truth is that we also learn untruth. Right? So like if you go to college, right, you're gonna learn a lot of things that you didn't know before, but you're also gonna know what's not true. So like if you're gonna be a doctor, right, you're gonna learn how to practice medicine, and you're also gonna learn how not to practice medicine. You're not gonna sprinkle stuff on people, high five them, and expect them to be okay. You're gonna learn how to do the things that you want to do and how to be successful at those. So when that comes to following Jesus, what's our college for that? What's our course? How do we get our truth if we're trying to learn how to be Christians?
That's a harder question for me to answer because I don't really know how to explain what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Well, I'll give you a second if you'd like. What I'm kind of thinking is that when we recognize truth, we also recognize lies, right? So Jesus said He was truth. So I mean, we can pay attention to Jesus, right? Not to give you a Sunday school answer, but that's the Sunday school answer because it's right a lot of the time. Jesus is at the center of what it looks like to live the lives that we want to live here. So if He's the truth, we pay attention to Him, and we learn how to do what we're going to do, and how to be like Him. Yeah, and Jesus, he wasn't susceptible to the lies. He was tempted. He didn't fall for the things that the people around him and his age were falling for. So how do you think that we could be like that also? Like, what are some things that people fall for now that maybe Christians need to be careful about?
False accusations about God or
Yeah.
Jesus.
What does that mean? Say that.
Say that.
What does that mean to you? Say that.
Some people don't want them to follow. Some people don't want their friends to follow Jesus because they want them to follow their own God. That way, So they tell lies about Jesus. So I'm getting confused.
So like people misrepresenting
Yes,
what Christ is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's solid. I think definitely, knowing what you believe and having faith, understanding what your faith is based in, and being honest with that in your life is super important. Great, Jaden. There's some other things, like big things that people seek after in their life and that Christians seek after in their life that's totally good, like identity and fulfillment and like purpose too. But there's some differences in the way that those look for people who believe in Jesus and understand what they are in his eyes and what God made us as, and maybe people who haven't done that yet. So can you think of any differences in how people would chase after those things if they didn't know what Jesus called them to be?
not exactly.
Okay. So if Jesus is truth and he tells us what we are and what our lives are about, then Christians know that what we're doing in our lives, and what we can expect God to do in our lives comes from a place that's true. So if we don't have that basis, that looks differently. So we might say, oh, as a Christian, I know that I know my purpose, and my purpose is to, love God. My purpose is to love others and spread that and honor him, with my life and be faithful, because it's like to be in relationship with him and to show others to do that also. But if we're not a Christian, we might say the purpose for my life is to prepare my kids' lives. The purpose for my life is to, make more money than my parents did, or some other things that maybe aren't what God necessarily called us to. And those things might be results of us following our calling that God gives us. It's not that those are bad, but putting them in the place of the purpose that we know comes from truth is a problem that sometimes people fall into. So, are there any truths that you know about yourself that we learned because we're Christian?
That you have a purpose.
Yeah.
That God's called you to do something that you will enjoy and that will what is the word? Show others kind of I don't really know how to say this. Show others who he is.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So that's awesome. Yeah, man. A lot of the things that help Christians follow the purpose that they find through Jesus are the truths, because truths can be identity and purpose, right? So truths can be, you are a child of God, you are saved, you are redeemed, and Jesus has paid the price of your sins. And those things can support us as we follow maybe a path that looks different than if we were following Jesus, right? So someone who might follow Jesus has the goal. I mean, they could have the goal of, I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna do what I think is right. I'm gonna provide for the people that I care about. And sometimes as a Christian, you have to have your priority of like life purpose maybe ahead of other things, not neglecting them, but saying that I'm gonna do what God wants me to do before I do what I think makes sense. And that's difficult, and it doesn't make sense if you don't have those truths like from Jesus that you believe about yourself and you know it. So truths can give us a different purpose that looks new and maybe is less clear than we think it is if we don't follow Jesus. But they can also support us because they're our identity also. So we know that God won't leave us. He won't throw us into situations that we can't overcome when we do them alongside Him. He promises that He has all the power over everything we're handling, and nothing's bigger and stronger than Him. And all those things can get us through the hard parts of the new purpose that we have. I think that's encouraging. And honestly, that's one of the best things about being a Christian, just knowing that you're here for a reason. You have something to do, and that you have support that's greater than anything that you can do yourself, because we're all going to fail.
If you have a pulse, you got a purpose.
Yeah, there you go. Right on. So I'm wondering about maybe something in your own life. Like, what did you think your purpose was, before you were a Christian?
I was gonna become an engineer of some type. I don't know what.
Yeah.
But now I come to think of it, I love to run sound at church. So I was thinking of thinking of going to Northwest and becoming a media pastor.
Yeah, that's super cool, dude. That's awesome. And I mean, that can be something that we see all at once, or be part of a cycle that we don't see the whole purpose all at once, but God does, and we're just a little bit behind. So maybe I don't see where I'm going next week, but trusting God to get through it. That's really cool. And I mean, not even all purpose has to be, oh, I went from working somewhere to working in the church. Like, yeah, you could be involved in your church. It's fantastic. But I mean, you can serve God and honor Him through whatever career choice He leads you to. That's cool. I kind of thought the same thing. I thought I was going to do architecture and a lot of like that same math and engineering and stuff. But God has leveraged those for different purposes in life and actually brought me to something different. And that's really cool. To encourage some of you guys who maybe haven't felt some of those pulls or tugs, just keep in prayer and believe, because the more we know about God, the more we talk about God, the more we know what God says to us, and the more we know, what His voice sounds like to us, so we can recognize those truths and maybe push away the things in our own head. We're like, is that God, or is that what I want?
Mm-hmm.
Has that been difficult for you ever? Knowing the difference between what's true and what's not?
It's been difficult in times.
Yeah. No, me too. It can be hard to tell if something is, oh, I feel like Holy Spirit's leading me here, or oh, I feel like my own desires are leading me here. How do you tell the difference? But the difference is looking at Jesus's character and looking at the promises that He puts over our life and saying, does this line up with those, you know, and eventually, you know, reading the Bible and reading about Jesus and reading about who we are in relation to God and what God does for us and what He wants for us, we can see this and say, is truth or is this not? So that's really helpful. Also, as a Christian, you maybe not have certainty, but you have faith, and I think that's way more important. Man. So, are there any things that like you used to believe about yourself or life or about what we're doing, I guess, or just anything that have changed and been maybe replaced by something that Jesus says?
Um, Not exactly. I don't really remember.
Okay. Yeah, totally fine. Some things that are pretty common for people, I think, is you see other people and they're providing it for themselves and they're working hard and stuff, and that's all great. We should be, you know, good stewards of our resources and skills God gave us. But when I was growing up, I thought I would have to provide things, you know, for myself, and that kind of made it hard to trust that God would do that for me. So that was a truth that was really, I guess, kind of slowly developed because you know you're maybe early in high school, you know, and your friends are getting jobs and stuff, and you're saying, "Wow, it looks like I can just kind of go and do this thing and do whatever I think is right, and maybe I want to do that." But while you probably should, you know, seek to provide yourself, and it's not like a genie like, you know, give you money and wishes. Uh, God will provide for you, you know. And there's if you talk to anybody who's older and has been through what we're heading into, they'll have some stories about when that happens for them and things that aren't, you know, of their own making are sustaining their life. Jesus said he said he's the truth. He said he's the life, you know. And when he was talking to the woman at the well, that's another story that some of you might know. He said I'm the water. So if you drink from me, you won't go thirsty again. So if I'm working, you know, for my trying to provide things for myself because I believe that's what I have to do, I'm gonna have to keep, you know, keep drinking, keep finding that source of water, keep looking for it myself. But if I just grab onto God, you know, I can live my whole life and never have that be taken away.
Hmm.
That's one of the great truths, and it kind of releases us to be able to fulfill our purpose without worrying about, you know, where am I gonna stay, where am I gonna, you know, how are things gonna end up, because we believe that God can take care of that for us. Man. All right. Well, do you have any other thoughts, Jaden?
None that I mispulsed.
Yeah, dude. I think it's interesting to be on the platforms that we are and be trying to do things in a new way. And some of that is great, and I like some of the things we started to do, but there's definitely a good part to getting all together. And I
Dude,
think
what I literally had a schedule. I would get there at 3:30. I would do my pre-check. I would get slides ready. We would do pre-service. We would
Yeah.
do prayer, and then we would hit it and we would run.
yeah, that's awesome. I told you guys this kid works. He knows what he's doing.
I miss it so much.
That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Community. We're supposed to live that way. That's awesome.
I'm trying to figure out how to edit GoPro footage, but I'm not very good at it yet.
Well, I mean, I think we have time to learn new skills right now, so that's cool. Right on. Well, Jaden, thank you for jumping on here and talking. I'm glad that we can still check it out. We both watch the message. We can all have that together and then break it down and talk like we used to. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if any of you guys watching want to jump on the show with a couple of your friends, we can have a bunch of you guys on a conversation and talk about our classes and just hang out a little bit. So I hope you guys reach out to a youth leader and say, hey, I'm interested in if you are, and we'd love to have you on. So I miss you guys. I'm glad we're still hanging out, still talking, and still learning about Jesus. So we will see you guys throughout the week. Bye.